channel. Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie and you're watching. In this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 of the fantasy series that I would like to start in 2021. These are all critically acclaimed series, books that y'all have been dying to get me to read, and I'm really excited to finally be getting to them because last year I definitely felt harder and heavier in love with adult fantasy than ever before. So I decided to come out with a video talking about 5 of the incredibly highly acclaimed fantastical adult series that I would like to sink my teeth into. Now, I figured I would make this video kind of fun by ranking these series by number of enjoyment. I'm essentially going to be going through these books based on how much I think I'm going to love them. Coming in at number 5, we have the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I want to give a huge thank you to the viewer who sent me this trilogy. I am so excited to finally get into this series. I have really been wanting to get into Brandon Sanderson's works. I cannot believe I have not read any of his works as of yet. And this seems like the perfect place to start. I have heard nothing but fantastic things about this series, so I truly cannot wait. In this world, we have a powerful and immortal emperor known only as the Lord Ruler, who has turned the world into a wasteland of ash and of course mist. But this ruler cannot quell the uprising that has been born in order to unseat him and take back power of the earth. This uprising takes the form of a cunning criminal mastermind as well as a street urchin. I am really excited about this, and this urchin must learn to master the power of a Mistborn in order to be successful.
I cannot wait.
The thing that makes me really excited about this trilogy is all of the things that I've heard about Brandon Sanderson's ability to create an in-depth, breathable world, a world that just leaps off the page, a world that you can get lost in. That is what I'm really wanting from fantasy this year. I want to delve into a world that feels so constructed that I could actually taste it. Something that feels just as real and vivid, if not more so, than my own. And Brandon Sanderson seems to be the author who can give that to me. So I'm going to put this book in my number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4, I have City of Stairs. This book was one of my anticipated releases when it came out, and I just never got around to reading it. It features one of my favorite tropes in the entire world, which is gods as main characters. I love godhood. I love god psychology. I love the power of gods. I love seeing gods have to interact with mortals and try to coexist in a universe with mortals, especially in one where mortals themselves have power. I find that all of those power politics so deeply fascinating. And the premise of this book is incredible. Reagan of Peru's Project loves this book and has raved about it and made me even more excited for it than I was before, if that was even humanly possible. The city of Bulakov once wielded the powers of the gods in order to enslave the entire world. But once its divine protectors were killed, the subjects of this city were subjugated themselves, killed off, and had their history stolen from them. We have a young woman named Shara who is entering this deeply broken city as a diplomat, but she is there with her own agenda to solve a murder. She is also a spy, and in this process of trying to find a murderer, she begins to suspect that the beings who once ruled the city of Bulakov are not as dead as they seem and are still yielding incredible power and influence. It is described as a tale of vast conspiracies, dead gods, and buried histories, which is simply all that I need to know. In my number 3 spot, I have a book that y'all are going to be super excited about because everybody on BookTube has been raving about this series, and that is Jade City and Jade War. I have been poisoned by the hype. I'm ready to get into this series. I'm ready to love it as much as y'all do. I love that this is a fantasy book by a BIPOC author, by an Asian woman, and the reviews are just absolutely glorious. So in this world, for many centuries, green bone warriors have used the stone of jade for its magical properties in order to wield influence, power, and to enhance their magical abilities. They have been using this stone in order to defend their land from invasions, but now that the war is over, a tentative peace has been instilled between the clans of this realm. But when that peace threatens to break, 4 siblings of the powerful Kahl family must prepare for battle. I'm really interested in magic systems where people get their power from an object. And the reason that I'm interested in this is because I feel that it is done so poorly so often. Oftentimes, this magical stone is the explanation for how the powers work, and we don't get any further into the world building or the workings of it, the drawbacks, the limitations, etc. And so, because I've seen so much hype about this book from reviewers that I really trust, like Starla of Starla Reads, I know that the way that the jade is used to interact with this world in a magical way is done with intention. I know that it is done well. It's not done lazily, and I'm very excited. I also love powerful families vying for power. I love power politics in my fantasy books. That is one of the things that I'm so deeply attracted to fantasy for, is the exploration of power dynamics through a magical lens. I am very excited about that. So I cannot wait. I'm going to read both of these books. I know that the third book has just come out, and I am excited. So this is going in my number 3 spot. Coming in my number 4.
Wait.
I can count. I know math. Coming in my number 2 spot is none other than Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I have very much been wanting to get into Robin Hobb's works. I love that she has been such a long-running woman in fantasy and has been telling these incredible stories and really holding her own in a genre that has classically been dominated by white men. I am so excited to get into her work. I have heard that she is incredible at building characters. I'm a sucker for a good character-driven story. If I had to choose between a character-driven and a plot-driven story, I will always go with a character-driven story. Because if the characters are interesting, I don't care what they're doing. They could be painting a wall white, and I would find that so deeply fascinating because of who they are as characters.
Okay, maybe not that.
But do you know what I'm saying? The journey is a lot less interesting if we are going on a journey with characters who can't support said journey, if that makes sense. In order for a journey to be attractive to me, I have to be attracted to the person I am experiencing the journey through. So I am huge into character-driven stories, and I've heard that Robin Hobb is amazing at them. So this is another book, another trilogy, the Farseer trilogy, that Reagan of Peru's Project has been shouting about from the rooftops, and I'm so excited to get into this book and talk about it with her. So in this book, we are following young Fitz, who is the bastard son of the noble Prince Chivalry. His name is Prince Chivalry? I'm dying. Raised in the shadow of the royal court by his father's gruff stableman, he is treated as an outcast by all the royalty except for the devious King Shrewd. Are these names real?
Okay.
Who has him secretly tutored in the arts of the assassin. For in Fitz's blood runs the magic skill and the darker knowledge of a child raised with the stable hounds and rejected by his family. Who has him secretly tutored in the arts of the assassin. For in Fitz's blood runs the magic skill and the darker knowledge of a child raised with the stable hounds and rejected by his family. And though some regard him as a threat to the throne, he may just be the key to the survival of the kingdom. Okay, that was the first time I read the synopsis, and I'm not gonna lie, this synopsis does not catch my eye. It sounds very boring, but I have high hopes. I still think, given everything that Reagan has said, that this has the potential to be my second favorite fantasy of 2021. Of course, excluding the new releases that I'm excited about. This is just me talking about the fantasy books that I want to read from my own shelves this year. Finally, in my number 1 spot, this is a recommendation from my beloved Starla of Starla Reads. And I just, from the second I heard her talk about this book, I knew that I was going to love it. I just absolutely knew it. I felt it in my bones. It sounds so amazing and incredible. And I know that out of all of these series, this is the one that I want to make sure I get to in 2021. And it is also the one that I think I'm going to love the most out of all of these. So after I read all of these series, I'll have to come back to this video and see if my rankings were accurate. But the book is none other than Upon a Burning Throne. This is by Ashok K. Banker, and it is book 1 of the Burnt Empire saga. First off, I am very comforted by the fact that it is a chunky monkey. This is a 600-page fantasy. It's 650 pages. The world building better be spectacular for 650 pages. I'm just saying. And I feel like it is. I know it is. This book has been described as a sweeping and compelling epic in which gods, demigods, strange powers, seers, and just plain humans all struggle for power to make sense of their lives and fate in a world where one is never sure anything is either certain of what it appears to be. This is the book where demigods and demons walk the earth alongside mortals, which is a trope that I very, very much enjoy. I love seeing fantastical creatures have to interact with humans. This empire is known as the Burnt Empire. The emperor has recently died, leaving the empire in turbulence and chaos, and so they are looking for a new leader. But in order to ascend to the throne, it isn't just about your inheritance and your birthright. In order to truly ascend to the throne, you have to sit upon the burning throne, a throne that is literally on fire. And so you have a person, the conflict of the story arises when the person who is slated to sit on this throne is contested by another. They both end up passing the test of fire. I'm so excited about this book. I'm so excited. I am so excited for the mythology in this story, as well as the fact that it is an Indian fantasy. Cannot freaking wait. It also depicts religion from ancient India. I think that so many of the fantasies that we uplift and read on BookTube can be very Eurocentric. And so I'm really, really excited for a fantasy that is not Western and Eurocentric. I cannot freaking wait. And I also feel like this is going to be my favorite of all of these fantasy books that I've talked about thus far. I don't know. We will see. Can't wait. Comment down below by telling me a fantasy book that you are dying to get your teeth into.
But make it a series.
So a fantasy series that you really would like to start. And if you made it this far in the video, comment down below with an elephant emoji, since Upon a Burning Throne has an elephant. Or you can type out the word elephant if you don't have access to emojis or don't want to get to your keyboard. That's gonna do it for this video. What is my outro? I know how to do things. How do I end my videos?
What the fuck?
Okay, so that is going to do it for this video. If you would like to see more content from me, you can follow me on my Instagram, which is also bowtiesandbooks, but I will leave all of my social media links in the description down below. Stay safe, wear your mask, and I hope to see you in my next video.